Picture this. You're standing in the checkout line at the grocery store. Your cart is full. There are 3 people behind you, and suddenly your 4-year-old spots a brightly colored candy bar right at their eye level. You say, "No, not today," and boom.
Ah, the dreaded boom.
Right? It's like a switch just turns on. The wailing starts, the arching of the back, the throwing themselves onto the floor, and you're just standing there feeling the burning gaze of every single person in that store. If you are nodding your head right now, or maybe even breaking out in a cold sweat just thinking about it, take a deep breath. You are not alone.
You are definitely not alone. Welcome to the Rising Parent Podcast, where we help you move from a place of constant questioning to a place of confidence, grace, and success in your parenting journey. I'm Edna.
And I'm Tim. Today, we are officially diving into the episode 5 Gentle Parenting Tips to Tame Preschooler Tantrums. We're going to explore 5 actionable, respectful techniques to help your 3 to 5-year-old regulate their big emotions and maybe even stop those meltdowns before they start.
Yes, and before we get into the thick of it, just a quick reminder that we release new episodes of the Rising Parent Podcast every single Monday and Friday, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out.
Absolutely. And we also want to quickly mention that we created this podcast not just to help families thrive, but also to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach. If you want to support the cause and help us serve the underserved, head over to selflessoutreach.org. We'll also have a link right there in the show notes for you.
Every little bit helps. Now, Tim, preschooler tantrums.
The big ones. Let's get started. The big ones. My passion really lies in that behavior management piece, right? The communication breakdowns, because it is a communication breakdown. But before we get into the 5 tips, we have to talk about the why, the brain development perspective. Because when you understand what's actually happening inside your preschooler's head, your entire approach shifts.
It goes from, why is my child doing this to me, to my child is having a hard time.
Exactly. So let's talk about the brain. In early childhood, specifically ages 3 to 5, the brain is essentially under heavy construction. You've got the amygdala, which is the emotion center of the brain, the fight, flight, or freeze alarm system. It is fully online and ready to go.
Very ready to go.
Right? But the prefrontal cortex, the logical, rational part of the brain that says, hey, maybe I shouldn't throw myself on the floor over a broken graham cracker, that part is severely underdeveloped. It takes until our mid-20s to fully mature. So when your 4-year-old experiences a big emotion like disappointment, their amygdala completely hijacks their brain. They are physically incapable of being rational in that moment.
That is such an important reframe. I remember back at the daycare, we had a little boy, let's call him Leo. Leo was the sweetest kid, 4 years old, but he would have these massive, earth-shattering meltdowns if his sandwich was cut into rectangles instead of triangles.
Oh, the shape of the sandwich, a classic.
A total classic. And the initial reaction from an adult is usually, are you kidding me? It tastes exactly the same. Stop crying. But when you look at Leo's brain, to him, in that moment, the wrong sandwich shape felt like a legitimate crisis. His alarm bells were ringing. Logic was offline.
Yeah, and telling him to be logical is like speaking a foreign language to him. Which brings us right into tip number 1. Look behind the behavior.
Yes, tip 1. I love this one because it's the foundation of gentle parenting. We like to use the iceberg analogy when we work with families. The tantrum, the screaming, the kicking, the crying, that's just the tip of the iceberg sticking out of the water. It's the symptom. But what's under the water?
Right, what's driving the behavior? We always teach parents the acronym HALT, H-A-L-T. Is the child hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Or in the case of preschoolers, we should probably add an O for overstimulated.
Oh, completely. Overstimulation is a huge trigger. We did some coaching with a family recently. Let's call the little girl Bella. Bella was 3.5, and her parents told us that every single day when they picked her up from preschool, she would have a monumental meltdown the second she got in the car. She'd throw her backpack, scream about her car seat, just total chaos.
I remember them. They thought she hated the car.
Right, they were trying to discipline her for throwing the backpack. But when we looked under the iceberg, we realized Bella had just spent 7 hours in a loud, bright classroom, holding it together, sharing toys, following rules. By the time she got to the safety of her parents, she was completely depleted. She was tired and overstimulated. The tantrum was just an emotional release.
Exactly. And once they realized that, instead of greeting her with a barrage of questions like, "How was your day? What did you learn?" they started bringing a quiet snack, putting on some soft music, and just giving her 10 minutes of quiet transition time.
And the tantrums almost entirely disappeared.
Gone, because they addressed the root cause, which transitions us perfectly into tip number 2, co-regulation before self-regulation.
Ooh, this is the hard one, Tim. This is where parents have to look in the mirror.
It is, because we tell our kids to calm down, but kids don't just magically learn how to self-regulate. They borrow our nervous system. If your child is at a level 10 and you meet them at a level 10 by yelling, "Stop crying right now," what happens?
They go to a level 15.
Exactly. You throw gasoline on the fire. Gentle parenting isn't about letting your kid do whatever they want. It's about modeling the behavior you want to see. You have to be the calm anchor in their storm.
It's like you can't be a lifeguard if you're drowning too, right?
Great analogy, yes.
I think about the parents I work with who are just so emotionally exhausted. When your kid screams, your own amygdala flares up, your own fight or flight triggers. So practically speaking, Tim, how do we co-regulate when we just want to scream back?
It starts with a pause. Literally, take a physical step back. Take a deep breath. Drop your shoulders. Lower your voice. If you speak softly, it forces them to quiet down just to hear you. We had a family in one of our coaching sessions, a dad who had a very short fuse. We had him practice putting his hand on his own heart and taking one deep breath before he addressed his son's tantrum. Just that 2-second pause changed the entire dynamic of their interactions.
That is so powerful, just breaking the circuit. Okay, so we've paused, we're calm. Now, what do we actually say? Because that leads us to tip number 3, which is something I know parents are desperate for, scripting exactly what to say during a public meltdown.
Yes, the public meltdown, the ultimate test of a parent's resolve.
It's terrifying. You feel so judged.
You do. But here's the secret. You have to pretend the audience isn't there. Your focus is 100% on your child. When a tantrum hits in aisle 4 of the grocery store, you need a script so you don't have to overthink it. The formula is validate, set the boundary, offer connection.
Validate, set boundary, offer connection. Okay, give us an example.
All right, going back to the candy bar scenario from our intro. The child is screaming because you said no to the candy bar. You crouch down to their eye level. That's crucial. Get on their level. You say, "I see you were so upset. You really wanted that candy bar, didn't you?" That's the validation.
Notice you aren't saying, "Stop crying over candy." You are acknowledging their reality.
Right. Even if it's silly to us, it's real to them. Then you hold the boundary. Candy is not on our grocery list today. Keep it firm but neutral. No anger, just a fact. Then the connection. I know it's disappointing. I am right here with you. And then you just hold space. You don't try to reason with them. You don't offer bribes. You just let them ride the wave of the emotion while you stay anchored.
I love that. Back at the daycare, we used a very similar script. I remember this little girl, Maya. She was 3, and she desperately wanted a toy fire truck that another child was playing with. She threw herself on the rug, kicking and wailing, and I remember getting down on the floor with her and saying, "You are so mad. You wanted the fire truck right now. It is hard to wait."
Yep, naming the feeling.
Exactly. Name it to tame it, as Dr. Dan Siegel says. And I told her I'm going to sit here while you're mad. And it took maybe 3 minutes. She cried it out, took a shaky breath, and then crawled into my lap.
Because she felt safe. The emotion processed and it passed. If you try to shut down the emotion by threatening, if you don't stop crying, we're leaving the store, you just escalate the anxiety. Now, what if the child is hitting or being unsafe in public?
Ooh, good question.
The script slightly changes. You hold their hands gently to prevent hitting, and you say, I see you are angry, but I will not let you hit me. Hitting hurts. I'm going to move us to the car where we can be safe. And then you calmly pick them up and leave. The boundary is physical safety.
And that shows such strong leadership. Kids actually crave that boundary. It makes them feel secure to know that you are in control when they feel completely out of control.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to tip number 4, and this is a big one. It's a major mindset shift for a lot of parents who grew up in the 80s and 90s. We are talking about setting up a calming corner instead of using a timeout chair.
Oh, the traditional timeout, the naughty step.
Right. Go to your room, sit on this chair, and think about what you did.
Which, let's be honest, no 4-year-old is sitting on a chair pondering the moral implications of hitting their brother.
No, they are sitting there thinking, my parents are mean and I'm a bad kid and I'm going to get revenge on my brother as soon as I get off this chair.
Exactly. Timeouts are isolating. They tell a child, I only want to be around you when you are behaving well. But a calming corner, or a peace corner, whatever you want to call it, is totally different. It's a tool for emotional regulation, not a punishment.
So how do we set one up, Edna? What does it look like?
It should be a cozy, inviting space in your main living area or their bedroom, not a dark hallway. You can put down a soft rug, maybe a beanbag chair or some plush pillows, and you stock it with sensory items that help regulate the nervous system.
Like what? Give Terrence some examples.
Things like glitter jars, those are great. You shake it up and the child watches the glitter slowly settle to the bottom, which naturally slows their breathing. You can include squishy stress balls, a favorite stuffed animal, or picture books about emotions.
I love that. We had a family we worked with recently who actually created a calm down bin because they didn't have space for a dedicated corner, just a little basket they could pull out. But here's the critical part, and I see parents get this wrong all the time. You cannot introduce the calming corner during a tantrum.
Say that again for the people in the back.
You cannot introduce it during a meltdown. If your kid is screaming and you suddenly drag them to a corner and say, look at this glitter jar, they are going to throw the glitter jar at your head.
Yes, they will, because their logical brain is offline.
You have to introduce it when they are completely calm and happy. You say, hey, I set up this cool, cozy spot for us. When we feel really mad or sad, we can come sit here and take deep breaths. Let's practice. Make it fun.
And early on, you go with them. It's a time in, not a time out. I see you're starting to get frustrated with those blocks. Let's go to the calming corner together and read a book until our bodies feel calm. Eventually, as they get older, they'll start taking themselves there.
That is the ultimate goal, independent emotional regulation, which leads us to our 5th and final tip for taming preschooler tantrums: practice outside the moment.
This is so underrated. We expect kids to just know how to handle disappointment on the fly without any rehearsal.
Right. If you want your child to play soccer, you don't just throw them in a game on Saturday, you practice passing and kicking during the week. Emotional regulation is a learned skill. It requires practice.
So how do we practice tantrums?
Through play. Play is the language of children. Back at the daycare, we used to do this all the time with puppets or stuffed animals.
Oh, I remember the dramatic role-playing.
Yes, you grab a teddy bear and you have the teddy bear throw a huge dramatic fake tantrum because he can't have a cookie. You make it a little silly, and then you turn to your preschooler and say, oh no, Teddy is having a really hard time. What should we tell Teddy to do to calm down?
And the kids always know the answer. They'll say, he needs to take a deep breath, or he needs a hug.
Exactly, because they are calm. Their prefrontal cortex is online and they can process the lesson. You're giving them the script. You can also read books about big emotions. There's so many great ones out there. Talk about the characters. Look at the little badger's face. How do you think he's feeling right now? What makes you feel that way?
Building that emotional vocabulary is huge. If a child can say, I am frustrated, they're less likely to express that frustration by throwing a toy car across the room. We had a toddler we worked with whose parents started an emotion check-in at dinner time. Everyone at the table, including mom and dad, shared one thing that made them happy and one thing that made them frustrated that day.
That is a brilliant strategy. It normalizes negative emotions. It teaches the child that it's okay to feel mad, and that even grown-ups feel mad sometimes.
Right, and it shows that feelings are temporary. They come and go.
All right, so let's quickly recap these 5 gentle parenting tips to tame preschooler tantrums before we wrap up today.
Okay, tip number 1, look behind the behavior. Remember the iceberg and use the HALT method. Are they hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or overstimulated?
Tip number 2, co-regulation before self-regulation. You cannot lend calm if you are chaotic. Take a deep breath and anchor yourself first.
Tip number 3, script your public meltdowns. Validate the feeling, set the boundary calmly, and offer connection without caring about who is watching.
Tip number 4, ditch the timeout chair and set up a calming corner. Use it as a tool for time-ins to help regulate their nervous system, not as a punishment.
And finally, tip number 5, practice outside the moment. Use role play, puppets, and books to teach emotional regulation skills when your child is calm and receptive.
Spot on. Remember, parents, tantrums are not a sign that you are failing. They are a developmentally normal part of early childhood. Your goal isn't to never have a tantrum. Your goal is to help your child navigate those storms with respect and love.
Beautifully said, Tim. Give yourself some grace. You're doing a great job, and it does get easier as that little prefrontal cortex grows.
It really does. Well, that wraps up today's deep dive. If you found value in this episode, please hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss out.
Yes, and please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps the podcast reach more parents who might be struggling.
And as a reminder, new episodes of the Rising Parent podcast are released every Monday and Friday.
Also, as we mentioned at the start, we created this podcast to help families and to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach.
That's right. If you learned something today, or if we helped make your parenting journey even just a tiny bit easier, please consider donating to Selfless Outreach by going to selflessoutreach.org and hitting the donate button. Every single donation helps Selfless Outreach serve the underserved in our communities.
We truly appreciate your support. There will be a link to Selfless Outreach provided right down there in the show notes.
Thank you all so much for hanging out with us today. Keep rising, keep growing, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone.